Tractate Bava Batra, page 173. We're getting so close to the end of this longest masechet. The Vilna Gaon said that Brachot is the longest, but as far as the pages is concerned, is the longest masechet with the Rashbam. We'd like to start with a short story. Imagine a fellow come before the Bet Din, the rabbinic court, and he said, here's a document, let's call him Reuven. Shimon owed me 100K. I know that he's not in financial situation, kind of hardship, so I'm let go 50, but here's the document. Produce for me another document for 50. The Bet Din obviously cannot do it. Why? Because the way we learn the past several days, unfortunately there are people who are unscrupulous. It can happen, and that's what we learned yesterday, the idea of the consent in both parties and the present in both parties, that the borrower, let's call him Shimon, he paid off the whole 100 to Reuven, but when he asked Reuven for the original promissory note to document, Reuven claimed that he lost it. So now, even he collected the money from Shimon, he gave him something, a piece of paper that said that he paid him. But since he come by himself, the Bet Din cannot change document, approve document, or do anything without the presence of both parties. Just as a good example for that, because if they tear the old document or take the old document and give him a new document without the consent of the other party, he may be able to unjustly and unscrupulously collect money that the other party did not owe him. The sugya we're going to learn, the first one, is a contradicted braitot, meaning we have a strong notion we learned in the previous daf that a person, when they carries the same name, the same city, let's use name, Yosef, son of Shimon, and is another fellow by the exact name, the same name of the father, the same name, the same location, you cannot collect from each other, but also you cannot collect from other people, meaning, as we said, that it can happen that someone found a document out there, can go the other way around, the Rashbam said, from the lender, and the third party found it, and or someone who has the same name. So we said the same name, we're not so concerned that someone with the same name found the same document that owed amount of money with the same city. That's kind of far-fetched, like very unlikely. Ve'ela hadetanya, we're at the top of page 173. Ve'ela hadetanya, כשם שאין מוציאין שטר חוב זה על זה, כך אין מוציאין על אחרים. Which means, if you have the same fellow, let's use a name, Yosef ben Shimon, and he have the same amount of money that a fellow owed him, he cannot collect it when they have the same identical name, the same city, the same father's name. B'maika mifligei, so the Rashbam here said, Kevan delo b'chayshen nfila kamifligei. We are not concerned for the possibility that the promissory note falling from a particular person. So he said, Be'otiyot niknot bimsira kamifligei, which means if you have this content of the promissory note, that you have to have the transfer, the documentation to the new owner. That's part of the kinyan by having mesira, by handing over from one party to another. That's the disputation. The question is, Rabbi and the sages disputed if it's enough to have mesira. The sages said that when it's come to promissory note, it's not sufficient, versus Rabbi said it is. But anyway, Tana dinan savar otiyot niknot b'mesira, v'Tana bara savar en otiyot niknot b'mesira. So obviously here we hold that the letters are acquired by transferring the document. So even you have a name, identical name of Yosef ben Shimon, he can transfer his promissory note to the other. The new holder of the document is not entitled to collect the debt. So that's basically Tana Bara. Another option, והיא באיתימה, דחו לעלמא אותיות נקנות במסירה. Everyone hold that the letters are acquired by transferring the document. והכה בצריך להביא ראיה כמפלגי. Which means the question is if that fellow needs to bring a clear proof that it's his, that the money owed to him, and therefore entitled to collect that money. Tana Didan, the Tana of the Mishnah holds Savar, that one who hold the document, who hold the promissory note, ain't tzarich laver, he doesn't have the burden of proof to prove. So therefore he agreed that if you have a fellow by the name, for example, Yosef ben Shimon, that hold this promissory note, he can collect by that merely fact that he hold that, even there is another Yosef ben Shimon who live in the same city. The Tana Bara and the Tana of the Breitach Savar hold that one who hold these promissory notes still have the obligation, tzarich להביא ראיה, need to bring a proof that that money is really owed to him. So therefore, if you have identical name, the same city, you cannot collect by that document. The Itmar, אותיות נקנות במסירה, אביי אמר צריך להביא ראיה, ורבא אמר אינו צריך להביא ראיה. So according to Rabba, that's part of his chazakah, that it's his. אמר אביי מנאמין לה, how do you know it? The Tanya, אחד מן האחים, שהשטר חוב יוצא מתחת ידו. You have one brother that the promissory note is by him, he basically proved that there is a fellow that borrow money at owed, and he said that that's mine, and he come and he goes to collect the money that owed to him. So again, the Ritva explains that here you have a brothers that inherited from the late father but they still did not divide the estate between them. So one of the brothers bring a documentation that the name of the lender was there, by meaning that fellow owed his late father money, and he claimed that the other brothers gave him this document and said that it's his. So he said it's mine. The other brother said no, it's not his. It's part of the general collection of the fund that all has as a collective heirs. And they claim that he just forcefully took it for himself. The claim is, the complication here, the Adrama, the Rashbam, many others said, is that he claimed that the father gave it to him as a gift. So gave him as a gift. Obviously, it's a, if it's not Maseh Kinyan, and if it's not something that have a clear proof, alav להביא ראיה, מה אליו הוא הדין לאחריני, even people that not the relatives. ורבא אמר שהאחים דשמטו מהדדי. Rava hold that brothers is different, because when it's come to brothers, they usually take from each other. So by taking something from one of them, it doesn't prove that it's his. Versus people who are not relatives, that's a proof. איכא דאמרי אמר רבא מנאמין לה דתניא, אחד מן האחים שהשטר חוב יוצא מתחת ידו צריך עליו להביא ראיה. אחידו דשמטו מהדדי, אך אבל אחריני לא. והבעיה היא, אחי נצטריך עלי, סרגל לתך אמינא כיוון דשמטו מהדדי אימה מזדהר זהירי, which means that they are careful when they divided the estates between them, and one cannot take from the other. ולא צריך להביא ראיה, and you may think that they don't have the obligation to bring a proof. So therefore, Kamash Melan has come to teach us that the brothers too must bring proof when they produce promissory notes. Ve'ela adetanya. So since we said that there is a possibility in the same city they have the same name, Keshem shemotziin hen, which means if you have two people that carry the name of Shimon ben Yosef ben Shimon, shtar chov al acherim, which is promissory note against other, and they can collect with that. Kach motziin ze al ze, from one another. B'mai kamifligei, what exactly the disputation? Bechodvim shtar lelove ve'al fel pi she'imo malve imo kamifligei. תנא דידן סבר כותבין שטר ללווה אף על פי שאין מלווה עמו. זימנין דאזי לגבי ספרה וסהדי. So sometimes a fellow by the name of Yosef ben Shimon, he goes before the scribe and witnesses, and ואמר להו, and he said to them, כתבו לי שטרה, write for me a promissory note, דבעינן למיזף מיוסף בן שמעון חברי, because I want to borrow money from my fellow who carries the same name as Yosef ben Shimon. ובתר דכתיב וחתם עלי, and after they write the document and sign on it, נקית עלי, he goes to the second Yosef ben Shimon, ואמר לי, have לי מעט דזפת מיני, give me 100 that you borrow from me. So תנא ברא סבר, אין קובעים שטר ללווה עד שיהיה מלווה עמו. So in short, and that's the way most of the מפרשים, you see it in the book called Tumim, and many others, they hold the same, that as long as you don't have the two parties, you cannot do that. נמצא לאחד בין שטרותיו שטרו של יוסף בן שמעון פרוע, שטרו שניהם פרועים. That's part of the Mishnah we studied. טעמה דן נמצא. The whole idea is that when you have was found among the papers, but if it was not suddenly found, relative is always aware of its existence. לא נמצא מצא מפיק, וענן ולא אחר יכול להוציא להם שטר חוב תנן. We learn that not can another present a promissory note against either of them. אמר רבי ירמיה במשולשים, so it said that there is a triple. That means that they brought the third, another generation to that. So there's a name of the respective grandfather. That's what we said in the Mishnah. So you have the three generation that makes a difference when you have three. Now, which means that the person who lent money, you have two different promissory notes, that each of them it was written the name of Shimon ben Yosef with the grandfather, but the name of the grandfather in each document was different. So it means we know clearly which one was written on Yosef ben Shimon. ונאיך זה תבר בשמה דמן דכתיב. We check clearly what's going on and who is the note that's starting with Yosef ben Shimon that has been repaid is written. אמר רב הושע במשולשים בשטר ומשולשים בשובר. You see here a triple in promissory note, but not triple in the receipt. Again, somebody is lying. אביה אמר אחיקה אמר, נמצא ללווה בין שטרותיו, שטרו של יוסף בן שמעון עלי, פרוע, שטרות שניהם פרועים. So כיצד יעשו ישלשו. So the Mishnah said you have to write three generations. אם היו שניהם כהנים יכתבו דורות. So you go back in generation until you find the one that it's not equal the same name. So it means it can go more than triple. Mishnah. Person notice that he have a promissory note that in his domain is already paid. אומר לבנו שטר בין שטרותיו פרוע ואני יודע איזהו. Person have all kind of promissory note that people owe him, and he said to his son, one of them already paid off and I'm not sure which one. שטרות כולן פרועים. So therefore, you ruled that the promissory note of all of those who owe him money are considered repaid. They are not valid for collection because he cannot determine which debt was repaid and which are outstanding. נמצא לאחד שם שניים, הגדול פרוע והקטן אינו פרוע. If you found among the paper two promissory notes owed by one person, so the one of the greater amount is considered repaid, the other one not. That's basically the whole idea of a situation that the one who owe money is a favor in the case of an uncertainty. אמר רבא, שטר לך בידי פרוע. הגדול פרוע והקטן לא פרוע, as we said in the Mishnah. חוב לך בידי פרוע, שטרות כולם פרועינן. אמר לרבינה, אלה מעתה שדי מכורה לך, שדה גדולה מכורה לו, שדה שיש לי מכורה לך, הכל סודיו מכורים לו? So זה מעתה מיד בעל השטר על התחתונה. Here the hold of document is of sale is in disadvantage. The Rambam here in הלכות מלווה ולווה, see it also in the Rambam הלכות מכירה chapter 21. If one says to another, I'm hereby selling you one of my houses, or I am hereby selling you one of my oxen. Without specification, he gives him the smaller house or ox in his possession. If one of the seller's oxen dies before he has given any of the purchase, or if one of his houses collapses, he can tell the purchaser that it was that ox or house that was sold, and the purchaser is not refunded his money because the holder of the document of sale is always a disadvantage. Mishnah. Now we talk about the guarantor, the arev. Hamalve et chavero al yedei arev. So a person that commit himself in verbal way, that he basically responsible in a case that the borrower cannot pay it off. So even it wasn't Maseh Kinyan and he never have any money, he basically he's the guarantor. And to this very day you see a situation like that, that people whom you can trust say that I'm guarantor if something happened. So Amalvet Chavero al yedei arev, if one lend money to another with the assurance of a guarantor, so lo yipara min ha'arev, he cannot collect the debt from the guarantor. Page 173b, ve'im amar lo, if the lender said to the arev, to the one who basically co-signer or the guarantor, to be exact, at the time of the loan, I'm giving this money with a condition al menat she'efra mimi she'yirtzeh, meaning Reuven lent the money to Shimon, and Levi comes in a sense of guarantor. So the Reuven said to Levi, just remember, I'm lending money to Shimon with condition that if I need to collect money, I can go to you straight, not even to him. And later in the Gemara we need to understand the difference between regular guarantor and arev kablan, which is in a sense, you not just said, okay, I'm responsible for so and so, you really take the commitment. So in a sense, Reuven can go straight to Levi even without talking to Shimon. Yepara min ha'arev. Later the Rashbam said, the Gemara explained it. רבן שמעון בן גמליאל אומר, אם יש נכסים ללווה, בין כך ובין כך לא יפרע מן הערב. If the estate belongs to Shimon, the borrower, so when the time comes that he needs to collect the fund, he, regardless the circumstance, he cannot go to Levi, he needs to go to Shimon. וכן היה רבן שמעון בן גמליאל אומר, even it's kind of not connected, the Mukhe Yosef said, but still, same kind of statement, הערב לאישה בכתובתה, someone who's one of the guarantor, co-signer, when it's come to the marriage contract. So in a case that she will lose a husband or divorce him, he is guaranteed to pay. So let's trace the situation. Reuven, let's use different names so it will be easy. Abraham is about to marry Sarah, but he's very poor. He needs to commit himself at the ketubah to certain amount of money. He brings his friend David, and David is a wealthy person, and he guaranteed that in case Abraham needs to divorce Sarah, or if he loses his life, her money, for example, if it's a betula, it's 200 maneh, can be collected from him. Now, what is knunya? Soon you see, is a situation that couples are poor, and they trick the guy. Abraham said to Sarah, I'm divorcing you. And she said, all right, you don't have money, so I'm going to David. She going to David, because he is rich, and she collecting money. And then after she collect that money, guess what? If he's not a Kohen, they're remarried. So we want to avoid this type of thing. הערב לאישה בכתובתה והיה בעלה מגרשה. So basically, David was the one who committed to that marriage, and the husband cannot pay the ketubah, so he divorced her, and the guarantor, the arev, which is David, needs to pay for that. yadirena hana'a, which means it has to be a very explicit and lucid in the final bill of divorce agreement that he cannot have her back forever. שמא יעשו קנוניה על נכסים של זה ויחזיר זה את אשתו. Sometimes people are such a crook because the couple can collage to divorce in order to collect payment of marriage contract from the guarantor's property, and then the husband to remarry his wife, and they enjoy the money. So to avoid this type of tricks, that's the Kovetz Yomi said that because it's not clear, it's not umdena sheura, it's not something that we know for sure, it's called knunya, which is clandestine, surreptitious deal that basically set up the guarantor in order just to get fun from him. Anyway, my tama, what's the reason that the lender cannot collect money from the guarantor when the borrower is before us? So Rabba ורב יוסף דאמרית רבה הוא גברא אשלים את לי, גברא אשלים מלך. You basically put it in the hand of the borrower. He is responsible to do it. In a sense, he is kind of holding, and he said, look, you gave a man over to me, which means to take the responsibility for him if he dies or flee. I have given the man back to you. So the borrower is here before you. So take your money from him, and he has nothing to suffer lost yourself. Matkef la Rab Nachman, hay dina de farsa'e. That's the way the Persian at that time used to do. So in a sense that he applied to Mishnah, not the Rabbi Yosef view. Let's appear the halacha. Anyway, adraba, batar arva azlei. No, basically you go by the guarantor directly without even attempting to collect the debt from the borrower itself. That's the way the Rashbam explained, because he is the core of the loan. Anyway, Ela Beit Dina de Farsai Loloya v'Tamele Mintayu. The Persian secular court, they don't need to give explanation. Ela Amar Rav Nachman, Ma lo yipara min arev lo yitba arev tchila, which means he first needs to go after the borrower, and only then he can go to guarantor. Tanya me'acham al vet chaviro al de arev lo yitba arev tchila. It's all dependent on condition. If you said in advance, sometimes people say things, soon you see asmachta. Amar Ravuna, minayin la'arev de mishta'abed. How do you know that if someone said, give me money and I'm guarantor, so basically he become obligated to repay the loan, he has guarantee, because we all know the story about the son, when Yehuda appeared to Yaakov in regard to Binyamin. So he said, Dichtiv anochi arvenu mi'adit tevakshenu. He said clearly to his father, when Yaakov refused to send Binyamin to Egypt with two sons, so Yehuda said, I am responsible. Anochi arvenu mi'adit tevakshenu. And then Yaakov agreed to send him to Egypt. Matkir v'larchis da hakablanuti. So this is important to know the difference between two types of kablanim. We have which we call a kablan arev, and we have a regular arev. A regular arev meaning regular guarantor. Kablan arev, he has more responsibility. Usually the lender can go after arev kablan much more than the regular arev. The idea is sometimes the lending institution afraid to give money. But if it's a guarantor, it's a different story. So sometimes people just say things. So the guarantor comes in, is a well-respected, wealthy person, and he says, don't worry, I'm responsible. So the moment he put his kind of signature on the note, or he put his name there as the guarantor, then basically it's like saying, I'm borrowing this money. מתקל רב חיסדא הקבלנותי, דכתיב תנה אותו על ידי ואני אשיבנו. So by using the word tna, give it, Reuven took a much more responsibility. Tna אותו, that I'm personally responsible to return. And you see from this pesukim that the Kabbala needs to pay. אלא אמר רבי יצחק מאחה, לקח בגדו כי ערב, that's from Mishlei, from Proverb 20. They said you take the garment from the guarantor, כי ערב, זר ובעד נוכריה חבלהו. So here in this pasuk, there is a different explanation. You have here the Marsha and the Ritva. But the pasuk talked to the lender, and he said that you can take even the garment from the guarantor. כי ערב. Anyway. ואומר בני אם ערבת לרעך. So here's the advice that King Solomon gave in the book of Proverbs chapter 6. If you take guarantee upon your friend or from your colleague, תקעת לזר כפיך, if you shake in your hand for a stranger, נוקשת באמרי פיך, you have become ensnared by the words of your mouth, נלכדת באמרי פיך, you have been caught by the words of your mouth. עשה זאת איפה בני וינצל. Here give advice. Did this now, my son, and you will save yourself. כי באת בכף רעך, seeing that you have come into the hand of your neighbor, לך והתרפס ואהב רעך. So go, humble yourself, התרפס, and assemble your neighbor. So what does that mean? אם ממון יש לך בידך, if you guarantee over money, התר לו פיסת יד, which means open up the palm of your hand and repay him. ואם לאו, if it's not the case, if it's not the money that you owe him, but rather you have become ensnared by the words of your mouth, and owe him an apology for personal slight, then הרבה עליו רעים. Just do the right thing, go and try to appease him, gather together many neighbors, and seek forgiveness. So, my brother-in-law, in his book Daf al Daf, Rabbi David Abraham Mandelbaum, brings from Rabbi Yitzchak Yeshaya Weiss. He brings first the Marsha in Chilushei Agadot, because Rav Chizda in the question brings the pasuk that Reuven, and not the word of Yehuda. You see it also the Girsa, the Grieve, bring the Shilto de Rav Achai. First of all, why Rav Chizda bring the pasuk of Reuven? Second, it's only loan, it's not arevut, it's not kablanut. So he bring a ritva and try to say that it's kind of a smachta. The whole concept here is a smachta. But anyway, my brother-in-law have a lot of write-up over this sugya. Just mention that for those who wants to go more with this, is a lot to talk. Amar HaMeimar, Arev dem mishta'abed, when you have a guarantor that become obligated to repay the loan that he has guaranteed, Machloket Rabbi Yehuda veRabbi Yossi. This is the dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. So what is asmachta? There are different phases of asmachta, but general asmachta is, come on, give him the money, don't worry. If something happens, I guarantee, don't worry about it. Right? You heard people talk like that? So, what basically you're saying? You're saying if the person is serious, if lending institution or person is serious, he take it like you getting the loan, not the third party. Remember, we said that. Rabbi Yossi damar asmachta kanya. Rabbi Yossi said, it means that you have smichut dat, that this guy that guarantee, he has this idea that he will never reach the point that he really needs to put out from his pocket. So the question is that, so he said, Kanya, Arev Mishtabed, is basically responsible. Rabbi Yehuda damar asmachta lo Kanya, Arev lo Mishtabed. אמר לרב אשי לעמי המעשים בכל יום דאסמכת לו קניה ומשתעבד. He says, what are you talking about? You see it every day. That people taking for granted. That an asmachta does not affect acquisition. And it's also taken from, forget it, the guarantor becomes obligated to repay the loan he has guarantee. אלא אמר רב אשי, בהוא הנהד דקם מהימן לי גמר משתעבד נפשי. Here we talk about specific hana, specific satisfaction, that when he see the lender taking him as a credible individual and he trusted him, so he has in his mind to take this commitment. There's a big discussion among the mefarshim. You see it in Ritva, you see it in others, Rashbam, if it's a full heart and how far you go with that. Mishnah, running out of time. Ve'im amar, if the lender said to the guarantor at the time of giving the loan, I'm giving this loan on not she'epra mimi shirtze. So now the Gemara circumscribed, limited the Mishnah. Amar Rabba B'Barchan, Amar Rabbi Yochanan lo shanu ela she'en nechasim lalovet, that if the borrower have no estate to collect, to pay off his debt. Aval yesh nechasim lalovet lo yipra min ha'arev. Obviously, when, let's say Abraham should not go to David if there is a borrower. So Abraham lend money to Reuven, he cannot go to David as a guarantor, he should go to Reuven first. Ela she'en nechasim lalovet, when unfortunately Reuven have no estate, so he have no access to any property that he can put a lien on them. אבל יש נכסים ללווה לא יפרע מן הערב. But if his estate belongs to the borrower, he should not go to the guarantor, even if it was a precondition that way. So it means when Abraham gives money to Shimon, for example, and David was guarantor, and the only reason Abraham give to Shimon is because of David, still we hold that Abraham should not go at the first place to David, but he should go to Shimon to collect the money that he borrowed from him. Not like saying that it's not even an option and the person can go whatever he wants. רבן שמעון גמליאל אומר, אם יש נכסים ללווה לא יפרע מן הערב, מיכל דתנא קמא סבר לא שנה אחי ולא שנה אחי. So, but basically, what exactly they disputed here? חסור מחסר והחקטן is missing. המלווה את חברו על ידי ערב לא ייפרע מן הערב. If someone lend money by the guarantor, so he should not go first to the guarantor. ואם אמר על מנת שיפרע ממי שירצה יפרע מן הערב. באמת דברים רואים שנכסים ללווה ויש נכסים ללווה לא יפרע מן הערב. So obviously, as we said, if Abraham give money to Shimon, and the only reason he gives it is because of David, that he is a guarantor, so he should go obviously to Shimon. But in a case that Shimon has no estate to access, and he tried that avenue, it didn't work, then he can go to the guarantor. The Kablan. But if this Arev is basically Kablan, which is unconditional guarantor, even if the borrower has property of his own, the creditor can collect the money from the unconditional guarantor. 174, just few lines. רבן שמעון גמליאל אומר, אם יש נכסים ללווה, אחד זה ואחד זה לא ייפרע מהם. אומר רבא בר חנא אמר רבי יוחנן, כל מקום שנה רבן שמעון גמליאל במשנתנו, לאחר כמותו, חוץ מערב וצידון בראי האחרונה. We said it several times, that's the משניות that we have by Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, the Rashbam said. So all the three things, ערב is here, so he can collect from ערב קבלן, צידן that we learn in Gittin, Mishnah 74, and Raya Achona is a Mishnah in Sanhedrin 31, is a disputation between the sages and Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, regards to ra'aya, that prove that one party brings after the verdict of the court, and that's the three things that we go Barabban Shimon Gamliel. Otherwise we don't.